What's up, everyone? Welcome to Thrive in Marriage with Mark
and Bethany.
This is our weekly discussion of marriage and family and the Christian life. And today we want to talk about pet peeves because it's fun to talk about pet peeves and tease each other.
Yeah.
And I think it's important because they can end up becoming sources of major conflicts in marriages.
So true.
And really what we want to do today is present a case for not all pet peeves necessarily being wrong or bad in and of themselves.
Right.
In fact, I think some pet peeves maybe you should tolerate and others you should embrace. And so rather than, kind of giving you 4 steps to take in order to do this, we're just going to give you examples throughout this episode of kinds of pet peeves to tolerate. And by that, I mean, just kind of endure.
Right.
And then other pet peeves maybe to embrace, I think I said.
Yeah.
And by that, what I mean is there's actually value here in the difference.
Yes.
So not only is it not bad, but this could be an instance where it's a good thing that your spouse is different than you. It just might bother you a little bit.
Right. So my question to you is, do you have more pet peeves that are tolerate or embrace for me?
I tolerate a ton with you.
Do you?
But none in comparison to the amount that I embrace.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, I'm going to find out on this episode what they are. I have guesses.
I have a couple that I haven't told you about.
Oh, no.
Well, I've probably told you about it at some point, but not for this episode.
Yeah, I truly don't know what you're going to say. That's kind of exciting. But
why don't you start, though?
But I know what I'm going to say.
Some examples.
Okay, so for me, the one that I think just coming into it, I need to tolerate, probably deal with, just kind of be okay with as best as possible.
So you don't like this one.
This one's not my favorite. Okay, so for you, when you walk in the door, you have this thing where, you're probably hot from the day, whatever, you're home, you want to unwind, and you take your socks, you take your shoes off, but then they just lay wherever they've been taken off. So kitchen,
that doesn't sound like me.
hallway, stairwell, front door, the socks are just there.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and so I think, they just put them in the hamper. They're dirty, ew.
Did you say I do this every day?
Not every day.
That seems extreme.
Okay, it's not every day, but some of the days of the week, multiple days, it feels like.
5, 6, maybe. It's a problem. I recognize it's a problem. I've struggled with this. But I think we can say there's been some progress.
Yeah, there's definitely been progress. And we've talked about it before.
It's just so hard.
It's easy for me to get really frustrated when I see the socks and want to throw them away or throw them at you or just just get the socks. And I can't say that I've never had that response before.
To throw them at me?
I haven't thrown them at you, no, but just being But over the past, few years now, I've just felt like this is one of the things I can serve you. I can just deal with. It's not a big deal. I don't want it to bother me. So I just tolerate it. If you improve, that would be awesome.
Yes.
In 20 years, if there's no socks, I'll be like, woo, but.
Victory. But you're willing to love me.
Yes.
And kind of push past this one minor.
Oh, tiny thing.
Just
tiny,
so little.
Yeah, a fraction, yeah.
Okay. So that's an example of one that you would tolerate.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you do it yesterday? Did you pick up my socks yesterday?
I don't know. It's I don't even really notice them anymore.
Seems extreme.
Because it's I've tried to just be no big deal, it's not a big deal.
All right, give me your next one.
Okay. So the one that comes to mind with being more of the embracing one for sure is the speed at which there's processing sometimes.
Wow, why did you slow down so much to say that?
Okay, it's probably not that slow, but sometimes I'm a fast talker, fast mover, and I want to go, go, go. And then when we're talking about an issue, you're like, let me stop and really think about that. And so I'll be looking at you and I'll think, did he hear what I said?
I just zoned out for 5 minutes.
Are we in a conversation? Because there's just silence, and that's hard for me. But I actually really love it. I really, truly know it's the best thing because I know you're really thinking through your decision or the next step, and it helps me so much have the balance of not just going and just, this is what I think we should do, let's go. I mean, you You're like, what about this? You're thinking through all the sides. So I have come to just love that about you, even though sometimes in the split second, I'm like, what are you going to say? Is he, like waiting sometimes. So that's the embrace one. It can be a little.
Embrace it.
But I love it. I do love it.
Yeah.
It's good.
And I can think of many conversations where you've probably demonstrated a ton of patience to, work with me through an issue or think through an issue. But hopefully on the other side of that, we land on some wise decisions.
Totally.
And maybe we don't go with what our initial knee-jerk reaction was, but we land on something different and more informed by other perspectives that we've considered and stuff like that.
For sure.
So that's good.
For sure.
So it's a pet peeve. It really bothers you, but you embrace it.
Yes. I embrace it. I love that about you.
Well, you know what really annoys me about you?
Uh-oh, I'm scared.
No. One minor pet peeve is you and your relationship with the garbage disposal. Okay. Let me explain.
My relationship?
Yeah.
Are we friends?
You don't love the garbage disposal. You hate the garbage disposal.
Okay.
I'll explain.
Okay.
So when you sacrificially are doing the dishes for our family, laboring at the sink for long periods of time, throwing all sorts of garbage and food scraps down the drain, all labor of love. You do all that, and it's such a blessing, but then you just stop short of the one crucial step of grinding all that stuff and removing it from settling in the bottom of the sink.
Yeah, that is true. I forget about it, but also
I love the garbage disposal. I think I run it every day.
It's got like 20 horsepower under there. The one in our new house.
It's hefty.
It shakes the whole kind of like, it's like so loud.
It is obliterating the food scraps.
It really does.
It feels good.
I just feel like, I'll just do it next time. Like every other time, but then that doesn't end up happening. It's like once a week.
So I've tolerated this, and I've learned to just run. I run it every day.
Yeah.
And there's always something in there.
It's so good. Thank you for doing that. I'm glad because it probably helps with the smells, probably helps with a lot of things in the house. So
probably.
I appreciate it.
Probably. So I tolerate that.
Okay, good.
But there is something that I have learned to embrace and appreciate about you. And I guess we'll just call it your realism.
Okay.
You're very realistic. You're very practical. You're very like what's the point? Or what's the list? What's the action item?
Yeah.
And it, I think, helps maybe balance some idealism or just conceptualizing.
Right.
But you're so much of a realist that you might even want to not go on an outing or something to the park because you think, and that's not something that happens very often. Just to get an example here.
Right.
But like you think through the 10 things that need to happen in order for us to pull that off as a family of 6, and all the snacks you need to pack, and then the bathroom breaks that are going to need to happen, and it's like 45 minutes of a process of getting out the door because if we get there and we don't have water or someone has to urinate.
The bathroom. Yes.
Or worse. Happens all the time.
Yep.
That it's not going to be a fun experience.
Right.
And so
it's like not worth it.
It's helpful.
It's like on the scale, I'm thinking, ooh, this is I don't know. Yeah, that is super true. I have said to you before, do you know what that means? Like this and this and that and this, and you're thinking, wouldn't this be great? And I've just laid out the steps and the thoughts and the factors. This is going to be how it is. And you're like, I just wanted to go to the lake or something. Sorry, honey.
Totally. Well, I appreciate it and I embrace it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing for us to, think through the various pet peeves that we might have and then consider which ones are really blessings in disguise. I mean, which one of these do we really value and appreciate about our spouse?
Yeah.
And then which one do we just tolerate?
Right. Yeah, because there's probably some of both. Just because you do things differently, not the same way, that doesn't mean I should be frustrated with it. And in fact, when I really step back and look at what that means, it means we're both coming at it with a different perspective. It's probably going to be better, the outcome, because you're, taking a minute to process through it, or I'm, on the other hand, giving the real, like, yeah, but this is the reality of it all. I mean, that's going to help us in our daily choices, I think. So
I was just literally reading in my Bible an hour ago in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, where it says two are better than one. And then it goes on to say a threefold cord cannot be broken, and just stressing the value of relationships and the differing, one of those values is differing perspectives and the help that comes by having a partner.
Yeah.
So I think what we can do is really appreciate you're different than me, I'm different than you, and when we come together, we have a more versatile package.
More robust.
That's right. So robust. Now, we've talked a lot about tolerating things that bother us. At what point do you need to say something? Let's end maybe kind of answering that question by thinking through, do you just tolerate it forever, or is there a point at which you should say something?
Right. I think for sure if it was a sinful thing, I shouldn't tolerate that. If my pet peeve is like, you always come home and lie to me, it's like, well, that should not be a pet peeve. That's sin. It needs to be addressed. I think also, at least from my perspective, this is just my personal perspective, if it's really bothering me, I can't seem to get past it. And I'm like trying to hide it from you, and it's been multiple times, and it's like bottling up, that I just want to share with you when I'm not bottled up, like at a different point when I'm calm, and say, this is something I'm seeing and it is frustrating to me. Can you help me think through why it's happening?
So I think that's good. You just gave two things.
Yeah.
One, if it's a sin issue, and I think that's an important point to make. It wouldn't be loving to just let an ongoing sin happen and just tolerate it.
Right.
You should say something at that point. And then two, you said if it's bothering you, like if
it's like layering upon layering. I don't know how to say it. If I keep circling back to it.
Yeah. Like what happens with all the food scraps when it goes into the garbage disposal? It's like a layer and then a layer and then a layer.
Yes.
So you just need to turn that on and grind all that up and get it out of there?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you need to say something if you're unable to overlook it.
Right.
It's just you're harboring bitterness.
Yes.
At a certain point, you now have a responsibility to confess that you're bitter about this.
Right.
You're frustrated about this. And so it's a confession of, I'm frustrated about this. Maybe could you please help me to combat this frustration by not doing this anymore?
Right. Totally. I love that. Yeah. Are there any other times you think you come to someone?
Yeah, I think those are two really big ones.
Okay. I agree.
And, we could really analyze this.
Yeah.
Again, go further.
Get more technical.
Yeah. Come up with more ways to blend in the garbage disposal analogy. But I think that's good for now.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we will talk to you next time. So we will talk to you later.
See ya.